Hey there, thank you so much for stopping by for today's video. In this video, I actually want to continue our last video where we had a Zima blade and we put Proxmox on it and got our storage configured and did all of that sort of stuff. The last part of that video was downloading a Proxmox container template, and we used Debian 12 Turnkey Debian 12 for that. And in this video, I want to kind of show you the process I go through when I first set up a container, because I like to set up one container and then have that as a template that I can then duplicate and use to deploy other containers more quickly in the future. So that is the goal for today's video, is to get a Proxmox container set up with Debian 12. We'll throw Docker Compose, some other stuff on there and get it all set up and ready to go so that we can deploy future Proxmox containers even faster. Okay, so just to head this off at the pass, I know that some of you are going to disagree with how I do this, and that's fine. It's one of the things I really love about self-hosting and the self-hosting community is that we can all do things a little bit differently and learn from each other as we go along. If you disagree with how I'm about to do this, that's fine. You do you. This is how I like to do things. And if this is helpful for you, let me know in the comment section down below. So with all of that out of the way, let's jump over to my desktop. Let's get our first Proxmox container configured, and then we'll put Docker and Docker Compose and all of that good stuff on it so that we can expedite our future container deployments. Okay, so here we are on my desktop. This is the Zima prox that we set up in our previous video. Basically, nothing here has changed. If we jump over here to our local storage, right here we can see CT templates. Right there is the Debian 12 Turnkey core that we downloaded in the end, actually, of our previous video. So that's what we're going to use to set up our first container. So let's jump over to the top right up here where it says Create CT. I'm going to call this my template. And then I'm going to give this just a different number, like 999, just to get it out of the way so I don't have to look at it all the time. I'm going to give it a root password. And once we've got that and both of those match, our next button here lights up and our template tab up here lights up. So we can click either of those and come over here. And we're going to look at our local storage. Again, that's where we downloaded that Debian 12 Turnkey. So that's what we're going to click right there. For our disks, I'm just going to say 32 gigs. I probably will never need that much for an individual application. It depends on the application that I'm going to deploy, but we can always modify this later when we duplicate it, and we'll cover that here in a little bit. So we've got our 32 gigs of storage. Let's do one CPU core. Let's do 512 megs of RAM and swap. Again, these are all adjustable later. We don't have to commit to anything right now. That's just a baseline template just for quick deployment. For our network, all of this should be, you shouldn't need to change anything in here other than I like to use DHCP here and then actually handle my IP configurations on my router. So once this pulls an IP, then I can go in and say, hey, attach that IP to that container. I can do that in my router setup. If you know what you want your IP address to be for this, you can always leave this on static and put in your IP and your gateway, and you'll be good to go. But I like to use DHCP on this and then handle my IP configuration at the router level. So that's all I'm going to change there. If you've got multiple networks, make sure you select the right network. But right now we've just got this VMBR0. So that's what I'm going to use here. Next, I'm going to go to DNS, and I'm going to do a couple of different DNS settings here. I'm going to do, first I'll do Cloudflare, and then I will do Google. In case one of those services goes down, the other will pick it up, and we won't have any downtime. Once I'm happy with all of this, I'm going to click Confirm. And then we can, if we want to, click Start After Created, or we can just click Finish, or we can do both. Although if you click Start After Created, then click Finish, whatever. I'm just going to click Finish. I'm going to let this set it up, and then we're going to start it manually. Okay, so right here it says the task is okay. That means it's done. We're ready to go. So we can close this window, and then we can come over here to our template. We're going to click right there on the left side under our node name. We're going to click our template. Then we're going to click Console, and then we're going to click Start. And we'll give this a second to start up. Now, this is going to take a few minutes to start up initially. And once it does, the next thing that we're going to see happen is we're going to go through a bit of a setup process with some of the turnkey core specific stuff after we log in here. So I'm going to do root. Right, so now we're going to go through this setup process. Do we want to initialize hub services? I don't, so I'm going to skip it. If you want to, you can put in your API key for Turnkey Linux and get hub services there, but I'm going to skip that. Next, we can send system notifications and critical security alerts. Again, you can put in your email address if you want to here. I usually skip this. Do we want to install security updates? Absolutely. It's going to save us some time, so we're going to click install. So it's going to go ahead and go through this installation process. Once it's done with that, it's going to encourage us to reboot. When we get to that point, we will reboot, then we'll get logged back in, and then we'll complete the rest of our setup of our first container. Okay, as I mentioned, the security update to the kernel requires a reboot. To go into effect for maximum protection, we recommend rebooting now. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And there we go. So we're going to go ahead and log in. And there we go. Now we're logged in. We can see our IP address up there is 0.63. It's good to know for later, but I've actually got an install script that's going to give us a bunch of information once we're done using it. So what we're going to do next is actually install Docker Compose. We'll have the option for some other stuff, just some kind of base level stuff for security purposes. And then we'll have the option to install either Portainer as our graphical user interface for managing our Docker stuff, or we can use Dockage. We don't have to use either of those, but I do want to show that we do have options for both of those setups. So what we're going to do at this point is actually jump over to my GitHub profile, this dnburgess/Docker install. This will be linked in the video description. We've got several different files here. We can see that these last two, this full install.sh and full dockage install.sh, were just updated a few hours ago. And those either you can use any of these, but I recommend either of these two, just because they're a bit more secure in my opinion, because they've got some additional stuff added. We'll take a look at that. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up here. We're going to click up here where it says code, and then we're going to click the little copy to URL clipboard icon right there. And then we're going to go back to our Proxmox instance. What we're going to do is say git clone space, and then we're going to paste in that URL, the one that we just copied from GitHub. Then what we'll do is hit enter. And there we go. So now we can cd or change directories into Docker install. And then if we do an ls-a, here we can see everything that's in that folder. Now, this is where you want to pick, do I want to install Portainer or do I want to install Dockage? Because I've got a different script for each one. Either one of them will allow you to skip that step. But for the sake of what we're doing here, we're just going to we're just going to use the full Dockage install.sh, which is this file right there. This is the file that we're going to use for this tutorial. However, if you want to use Portainer, you can just use the full install.sh, just change the name of the file that we're about to modify, and then the rest of it will be a cakewalk, right? So what we're going to do, the first thing we have to do is make that .sh file executable. Either one we want to use, we have to make it executable. To do that, we're going to do chmod plus X, which is executable, and then space, and then whichever file we want to use. I'm going to do full dockage install.sh, like so. Also, if you want to, I should have mentioned this earlier. If you come back over to this GitHub repository, you can look through everything. Everything is explained down here. You can come in and look at the files themselves. None of this is encrypted. This is all fairly human readable. So I just want to be transparent that you can absolutely go in here and look through everything before you deploy it. In fact, I encourage that. So I should have mentioned that earlier. I apologize, but definitely take a look at that. So let's jump back over to here. Our full dockage install.sh is now executable. We ran that command to do so. So what we'll do next is /full docker install.sh, and then we'll hit enter. Now it's going to sit here for just a second while it's running some stuff in the background and thinking about what it's going to do. And then it's going to do some updates just to make sure we are all up to date. And then it's going to start asking us some questions. Okay, the first question, do you want to install sudo? Yes or no? You can just do Y or N, or you can type out the words, whatever. I'm going to go ahead and install sudo because I'm a glutton for punishment. But if you'd like to be more secure on your server, you can disable that. It's completely up to you on how you want to handle it. Next, do we want to install Docker? Yes, I do. That's kind of why we're here. Do we want to install Docker Compose? Yeah, that would be cool too. Do we want to install Dockage? Yes, I dig Dockage, so I want to install that. So now it's going to go through this process, run through all of the stuff that I told it to do, and it's going to install all of that stuff for us. Then it's going to say, hey, we've installed sudo, but while we're doing that, do you also want to create an additional user with sudo privileges? And I absolutely encourage this so that we're not logging in and doing stuff with root. Doing things through root can be a security issue. This is a good opportunity to just create a new user. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to say yes. Sorry, my stupid face is in the way there, or my camera is in the way of my face seeing things. So I'm going to give it a username and a password, which I've typed in. There is one thing I probably should add to this, and that is entering the password twice for verification purposes so that we know we didn't fat finger it. I will probably get to that at some point. I just haven't yet. So I've entered my password, hit enter. Cool. The new user is created and added to the sudoers group or the sudoers group. And now it's going to go through more of the installation process. So now it's gone ahead and it's installed everything. And now we're installing Dockage via the Docker Compose that we installed during this process. Okay, so our script has run all the way through. We've got Docker and Docker Compose and sudo and our additional user created. We've done updates. We installed Dockage. Now that everything here is complete, we can see the Dockage was installed successfully. There's an installation log.txt file we can take a look at. Now we can come in here and automatically see, hey, there's our IP address. We already knew that from earlier, but I've added it to the script because not every OS does that at the beginning. And then also down here, we added the UID or the PUID and the PGID or the UID and GID of our non-sudo user or sudo user. And for both of those, it's going to be 1000. So now we've got all of the information we need in order to start deploying Docker containers in our Proxmox containers. So now let's make sure that all of this is actually working. What we're going to do is go to our IP address and then port 5001 because that's the port that Dockage uses. So we're going to go ahead and, we're going to do 192.168.0.63 and then 5001. And then we're going to go ahead and say continue to site. And then we're going to put in a username and a password. And then we'll go ahead and click on create. And then we'll close that. And all of this looks good. This means that our Docker setup is actually working. So just real quickly, just to make 100% sure, let's go ahead and install a container using Dockage just to make sure that things are actually working. So I'm going to install Wallace just because, again, it's a script I've got available quickly and easily. I'm going to come up here and click on Compose. I'm going to go ahead and paste that in there. Oops, let's do that. And then we're going to go ahead and paste the name in over here on our stack name. And let's change this to 8081 just for the sake of it. Everything else here looks good for my setup. So I'm going to go ahead and click on deploy. Okay, so our container deployed, that's good. It's going through some migration stuff here. Hopefully here in just a moment we'll be done with that. But I tell you what, let's just check. Let's click right here where it says 8081. Hey, look at that. Now Wallace is set up and ready to go. So that tells us that our entire setup is working appropriately. So what I want to do, let's go ahead and close that. I'm just going to go ahead and delete this like so. That way we don't have anything extraneous in our base Proxmox template. All right, so now we're back to a clean slate on our Dockage instance. So what I want to do is actually come back to Proxmox and shut down this template. Let's do clear, and then we're going to do shut down now. We'll give this a second to do its thing. And then once it's shut down, we'll come back and move on to our next steps. Okay, so here we are just a moment later, and over here, our 999 template, that's the one we were just working in, is shut down. Now, we've got a couple of options on what we can do next. We could just right-click and click clone, or we could click convert to template. Now, I typically do not convert to template just because once you do that, you really can't get in there and modify it any further. And so I just leave it as it is and then click clone when I'm ready to deploy my next service, whatever it happens to be. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to click clone. I'm actually going to call this Wallace because screw it. Why not, right? And of course, you can change the container ID name if you want to do that. Let's just call it, let's do 134. Why not? And then we're going to click clone. Okay, so here we are just a minute and a half later, and I think we're ready to go. So what I'm going to do is come over to our Wallace container that we just cloned, or the result of the cloning we did is now Wallace on 134. We can click start now. Cool, and now we can log in as root. In fact, you know what? Let's not log in as root. Let's log in as the user we created. like so. Cool. So now we have an IP address of 63. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste that in a new window, 5001. And just like that, we're up and running, and then we can deploy whatever container we want. We just demonstrated it deploying Wallace on this, but of course you could deploy basically any container that you want. There are a few exceptions to that. Every once in a while you'll run into something that actually does require a VM, but most small services like password managers and that sort of thing will run perfectly well on a Proxmox container. So if you're wondering why I like to use LXC or Proxmox containers for my services, I made a video about that a few days ago. You can go check that out. I'll leave it linked in the video description. But I just prefer to use LXC or Linux containers just because they're lightweight, they share the kernel, that sort of thing. And in doing it this way just means that I can then go in and just clone that first template and get a new instance of whatever application I'm trying to deploy up more quickly without having to go through all of this setup process that we went when we built that first Proxmox LXC container, whatever you want to call it. So this is just kind of the process that I've been using for more than a year now. I build a container, I set it as template, and I just clone it for all of my other services. But while we're here, let's actually talk about this for a minute. If we come over to here, right, and let's say that we wanted to, let's clone another one, and we're going to just call this big project. If I could type big project like so, we'll call this 154. Why not? I'm just picking these numbers at random. Whatever my fingers touch, that's what it is. That's not typically how I run things, but I like to see different numbers sometimes. So we'll click clone, we'll give this a second, and then we'll come back and I'll show you why this is also super beneficial, at least for faster deployment of services. Okay, so our new container has been cloned and ready to go. And right here is our big project, that 154. And if we know that the project that we're about to deploy is going to require more than like 1 core and 512 megs of RAM, while we're here, we can just click over here on our container name. We can go over here to resources and we can say memory, edit, 2048. That'll give it 2 gigs of RAM, 2 gigs of swap, and we can click there. And then our cores, we can say, we want to edit that. Let's give it 4 cores, like so. And then for our storage, I lied. We're going to click volume action and we're going to resize it. Let's say it needs to be 64 gigs. We're going to just add, we're going to take whatever number we've got to start with, which is 32 gigs. If we want it to be 64, we're going to add 32 gigs to it. So the size increment will also be 32 and resize disk. Give it a second. Says it's done. Great. Now we've got 2 gigs of memory, 2 gigs of swap, 4 cores, and 64 gigs of storage. If we needed to, we could add another mount point. We can do a device pass-through, but we will talk about mount points and pass-throughs and that sort of thing in upcoming videos. I kind of want to make this a bit of a series so that each little chunk is more digestible than trying to just plow through an entire configuration in a single video. So hopefully you'll join me on that journey. I think that's really all I wanted to cover in this video was how I set up my templates, and then of course how to reconfigure them after you've cloned them to give them more cores, more RAM, more storage, that sort of thing. So hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, do me a favor, give the video a like and a subscribe if you're not already, and hopefully I'll get to talk to you in the next video.